There's an entire storm brewing online, and it's centered around one question that goes, is Brittney Griner actually a man?
But apparently, Brittney Griner is, in fact, a man.
Okay, stop. Do not go yelling fake news just yet, please.
Reason. Brittney Griner is under fire for extremely aggressive behavior portrayed toward Caitlin Clark, the rookie from last year, the one that has everybody's focus in the WNBA. However, I do have some serious questions about that last one, which, again, we are going to circle back to here in a little bit. But first, what we're going to do is we are going to react to this incident between Brittney Griner and Caitlin Clark. We can see here that Riley Gaines posted, Brittney Griner appeared to call Caitlin Clark trash and effing white girl after failing out last night.
I've watched that video countless times, and it sure looks like Brittney Griner says, f***ing white girl.
The WNBA just detonated a bombshell. For the first time in its history, the league has announced mandatory gender testing for all players, and one name is on everyone's lips, Brittney Griner. The league says it's about protecting fairness. But let's be real. The timing, the implications, the whispers surrounding Griner for years, none of it is coincidence. And what happens next could redefine everything we thought we knew about women's basketball. But this isn't just about Griner. It's about an entire sports ecosystem being forced to confront questions it's dodged for decades. It's about what happens when social norms collide head-on with biological standards. And most importantly, it's about the future of women's sports, how we define it, protect it, and move it forward in a world that's constantly evolving. This isn't the first time gender identity has become a flashpoint in sports, but it may be the most high-profile test yet. With millions watching, the WNBA's decision could rewrite history, not just for its players, but for all of professional athletics. And it all starts now. Without warning, the WNBA introduced a policy that no one saw coming: comprehensive gender testing for every single player. This isn't your standard drug test. We're talking hormonal analysis, chromosomal breakdowns, and biological verification. Officially, the league cited competitive integrity and fairness. Unofficially, this move screams reaction, not evolution. What makes this policy especially stunning is the silence that preceded it. No public discussions, no town halls with players, no debates among league officials, just a sudden press release. And just like that, women's basketball was thrown into the heart of one of the most controversial conversations in modern sports. The announcement wasn't delivered during a press conference or even a live Q&A. It was slipped into a digital statement, buried under euphemisms about inclusion and equity. Yet behind the sanitized language, the meaning was clear. The league is drawing a biological line and daring anyone to cross it. Fans are split. Some say it's overdue. Others say it's a blatant overstep. But no one is ignoring it, especially not Brittney Griner. The timing of the announcement comes right after her controversial spat with Caitlin Clark, an incident that already had the internet ablaze. For the WNBA, this could be a make-or-break moment. Sponsors are watching. So are political advocacy groups, lawyers, and media outlets from every corner of the ideological spectrum. The league's decision could either elevate it to a symbol of fairness or send it spiraling into chaos. Griner isn't new to the spotlight, but recently it hasn't been the kind she wanted. After making derogatory remarks about rising star Caitlin Clark in a viral video, backlash exploded. Fans called her out, sponsors grew silent, and suddenly the rumors that had long hovered around her identity were back, louder than ever. For years, whispers about Griner's physical traits, voice, and demeanor stirred controversy, but the mainstream media steered clear. Now, with the WNBA implementing this kind of policy, everything's on the table, and this isn't happening in a vacuum. Was it within the boundaries of female athletic competition? Those are the questions bubbling just beneath the surface, and the league can't avoid them anymore. Past interviews, archived footage, and even memes are now being re-examined through a new lens. Fans are pointing to inconsistencies, unanswered questions, and even old social media posts that seemed innocent at the time but now spark suspicion. In this hyper-connected world, nothing stays buried for long. Griner's advocates argue that she's been subjected to years of unwarranted speculation, simply because she doesn't conform to traditional standards of femininity. But her critics say the questions are fair and long overdue. The cultural divide surrounding Griner is as wide as it's ever been. To some, she's a victim of bigotry. To others, she represents a loophole in competitive fairness that the league can no longer afford to ignore. One clip started it all. An old video from Griner's Instagram resurfaced, showing her shirtless. The post stayed up for over 100 weeks, completely unflagged. Instagram's AI didn't detect it as explicit. Why? Fans say it's because the system couldn't recognize female anatomy. And that led to one explosive theory: that AI, yes, AI, might have exposed the truth long before the league did. On forums like Reddit, X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok, internet detectives began connecting dots. Some posted detailed image comparisons. Others referenced medical literature. Theories ranged from Griner being intersex to undergoing top surgery at a young age. There were even claims that she had undergone hormone therapy to maintain eligibility. This speculation wasn't just tabloid noise. It sparked real debate among sports journalists, fans, and players alike. Was the league aware of these claims? Had they turned a blind eye for years? Or were they just as blindsided as the rest of the world? The floodgates opened. Users began digging into every clip, interview, and press conference featuring Griner. Voice pitch analyses, body composition theories, even speculative genetic charts. It became a circus, but a circus the WNBA could no longer afford to ignore. Public trust is fragile, and with this much attention focused on a single player, every move the league makes from here on out will be under a microscope. The official statement may have been brief, but its implications were enormous. The WNBA's language around the policy was deliberately vague. Terms like equity and competitive integrity were repeated but not defined. And while the league stopped short of naming anyone directly, the subtext was unmistakable. Why now? Why this policy? And why the suddenness? Many insiders believe the league had little choice. Internal pressure from players who felt the playing field wasn't level. Sponsors concerned about public perception, and most of all, fans demanding answers. The league has known for years that questions about gender and eligibility were mounting, but until now, they hoped silence would be enough. That silence is over. What exactly does gender testing mean in the WNBA's new policy? It's not just a checkbox on a medical form. This policy introduces one of the most comprehensive and invasive testing regimens ever implemented in professional sports. Players will undergo hormonal profiling, chromosomal karyotyping, and, in some cases, physical examinations, all designed to determine whether an athlete meets the biological criteria for female competition. This isn't a slapdash policy. The league has brought in endocrinologists, geneticists, and sports physiologists to consult on the framework. The testing will evaluate levels of testosterone, estrogen, and other critical sex-related hormones. Chromosomal analysis will identify whether a player has double X chromosomes typical of biological females, or any variation that might fall outside of the expected range. For players who fall under the intersex spectrum, the implications are enormous. The testing may not only impact their eligibility, but also out them involuntarily in a public and humiliating way. That's why the WNBA claims results will be reviewed confidentially by an independent panel. Still, critics argue the league can't possibly keep findings private in an age of leaks and constant surveillance. But for fans and athletes who've long suspected unfair advantages, point to disparities in height, speed, muscle mass, and endurance. Metrics that, when seen in isolation, mean nothing, but when viewed collectively, they start raising questions. Science can't answer everything, but the league is betting it can settle the biggest controversy to ever hit women's sports. And for the players, this is more than just a test. It's a defining moment. Let's walk through the worst-case scenario. Brittney Griner fails the test. The results show elevated testosterone, XY chromosomes, or any marker that disqualifies her from women's competition under the new rules. What happens next? Her legacy erased or rewritten. Her records called into question. Her awards and titles contested in both court and public opinion. Headlines would explode. Griner disqualified. Scandal rocks WNBA. Sports history under review. Think about it. Every moment of triumph, the blocks, the dunks, the wins, would be reinterpreted under a new, unforgiving lens. People wouldn't see an elite athlete anymore. They'd see an asterisk, and it wouldn't stop there. Lawsuits could follow. Teammates might feel betrayed. Opponents might demand restitution. The league could fracture from within. But the biggest consequence? Public trust. If the WNBA's most recognizable figure is ruled ineligible after years of dominance, fans will question everything. Was the league complicit? Were sponsors knowingly silent? Were championships won under false premises?
But apparently, Brittney Griner is, in fact, a man. And one of the videos that give us cause to say that is this video. It is from her Instagram stories from years and years ago. It says, screenshotted and posted a year ago. So quite a while. Let's go ahead and watch this and we'll talk about what we think after.
Flag you. Brittney, let me see something real quick. Brick! Thank you! Get the hell out of here, yo! Jab stepping, just a brick. Swing and a miss! Yo, I ain't gonna fake it right now.
For Griner, the emotional toll could be catastrophic. The pressure, the media storm, the personal backlash. It would be unlike anything women's basketball has ever seen. And regardless of the outcome, her name would forever be linked to this moment. This isn't just about eligibility. It's about erasure, accountability, and the price of transparency in a world that wasn't ready for this kind of reckoning. The announcement has drawn a deep, jagged line through the culture of women's sports. On one side are the advocates for inclusion, those who believe sports should evolve with society. That identity is more than chromosomes or hormone levels. On the other side, traditionalists and biological purists who argue that fairness and science must form the backbone of athletic competition. This divide isn't new, but the WNBA's policy has ripped it wide open. Supporters of the policy argue it's the only way to protect decades of progress in women's athletics. They say it's not about hate, it's about preserving the level playing field women fought for. Caitlin Clark's rise to prominence has only intensified this sentiment. With millions tuning in to watch her play, fans are demanding authenticity. But opponents call the policy a step backward. They argue it opens the door to discrimination, harassment, and forced exposure of private medical information. Trans athletes, intersex individuals, and non-binary players now face an uncertain future. The result? Legal battles, PR wars, and deep fractures within the fan base. Even players within the league are reportedly split, though most remain publicly silent, perhaps afraid of career consequences or social backlash. What's clear is this: the WNBA has ignited a cultural powder keg, and no one knows how far the explosion will reach. While she may not have asked for it, Caitlin Clark has become the face of this era-defining debate. Her popularity has soared, bringing an influx of new fans, media attention, and financial investment into the WNBA. But with that spotlight comes scrutiny of her opponents, and the league itself. represents everything many fans associate with traditional women's basketball: talent, grace, and undeniable athleticism. Her presence has reshaped the narrative around fairness and competition. She didn't challenge the system, but her rise is forcing the system to clarify what it truly values. Griner's critics say it was only a matter of time. As Clark redefines expectations and expands the audience, the inconsistencies in eligibility standards became too glaring to ignore. The public doesn't want ambiguity, they want answers. Without saying a word, Clark has become the yardstick by which authenticity in the WNBA is now measured. And that, intentionally or not, has put massive pressure on every other player, including Brittney Griner. The WNBA's mandatory gender testing policy may have begun as an attempt to settle a long-standing debate, but now it's become a turning point, not just for one player or even one league, but for the future of sports. For Brittney Griner, this could be a personal and professional reckoning. The outcome of her test will either silence critics or validate years of suspicion. No matter the results, her legacy will never be the same. For fans, this is about trust. Can they believe what they're seeing on the court? Are the rules fair? Is the league being honest? And for athletes everywhere, the implications stretch beyond basketball. Every league, every federation, every locker room is now watching the WNBA to see what happens next. The tests are coming. The answers are near. And when they arrive, the sports world may never look the same again. This isn't just about science or sport. It's about identity, truth, and the fight to define fairness in a changing world. One league, one player, one test. History is waiting.